No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
It's been a while since Mark Scheifele has been able to say it, but for the first time in 6 games, is there anything better than beating the Toronto Maple Leafs? Good afternoon, Winnipeg. Good afternoon, Kentucky. And for all those joining us live this afternoon, wherever you may be, we say good afternoon, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Ezra Ginsburg, along with Connor Harabchuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss a rare Monday afternoon matinee, but one that Winnipeg Jets fans will thoroughly enjoy as the Jets wrap up the pre-Christmas portion and pre-Hanukkah, I should say, pre-Hanukkah and pre-Christmas portion of the schedule with a comprehensive, complete 5-2 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Gentlemen, good afternoon to you both. Nice to see you on this Monday afternoon.
What's up, boys? Yeah, I mean, Drew, you mentioned what's better than beating the Leafs. What about a Scheifele hat trick in his home province? That's that can't get much better than that, right, guys? And you know, this game was interesting because it was definitely a slow start, and that's to be expected in an afternoon game, right? But it definitely didn't end off slow. And you know, there was a fight, obviously. With Alex Iafallo and Max Domi, not necessarily.
Hang on, let me stop you for a second. Is anybody else surprised that was Alex Iafallo's first career fight?
I didn't know that, Drew. I'll be honest with you until now.
Connor, you tweeted that out.
He's not a guy that fights a lot, obviously.
No, but he's a guy who plays a hard style.
I would have thought like he had like, you know, a handful of fights in LA, maybe like, you know, 3, 4, something like that. But yes, like I am surprised that was his first fight. If you come into this game
and said that Nikolai Ehlers has more career fights than Alex Iafallo, I would have said I don't believe that. I'm going to have to fact check that.
Well, and not only does he have more fights, Ehlers has probably got 6, 8 fights. Like I'd have to look it up.
I don't think.
I don't know, Drew. I'm gonna say he's had 7 career fights.
I don't think it's that high. Somebody can look it up. I would say 4.
I'm gonna look it up. What do I get if I win, Drew? What do you say?
You get. I'll unblock you on Twitter. How about that?
Okay. What are you saying?
To see you this afternoon.
What are you saying, Drew? You got to give a number here. I said 7.
I said 4.
Okay, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that Connor and Jacob got into a little. Jacob thought that Nikita Chibrikov was going to stay up, and so I can see Connor's not weighing in because Connor knows the real answer. But here, hold on, I'm going to look it up, Drew. And then
you
we'll
look it up, right. Well, Connor, we say good afternoon to you and welcome you back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Look, you knew entering this game that the Maple Leafs were not at full strength. No Austin Matthews. We knew that was going to be the case. Then late scratch of Chris Tanev. So it's certainly not a full strength Toronto Maple Leafs team, but the Winnipeg Jets should not feel bad about that. You take advantage of wounded opponents when you have the opportunity to do so. And the Winnipeg Jets certainly did so. A bit of a slow start to this game, but then they get the power play goal. We'll get into it during the Play Now game recap.
The answer is 9, so I was correct.
Wow, 9. Good for you, Ezzy. Well done.
I wasn't bang on, but I was closer than you.
Close enough. I did not expect 9, that at all. 9 is higher than I thought. But this is what you wanted to see from the Winnipeg Jets. The power play does its thing to get them going, and then the rest of it, it's a lot of 5-on-5. Ezzy, you referenced it. The first 10 minutes of this game was a good reminder why NHL games typically aren't at Monday afternoons at 1 o'clock, but it did pick up, I'd say, from the latter half of the first period onwards, Connor.
Yes, and I'm going to have to disagree with Mark Scheifele when he said there's nothing better than beating the Leafs because they just beat the Wild 5-0 and then the Leafs 5-2 going into the holiday break. So there is something better than beating the Leafs, and it's beating those two back-to-back by a combined score of 10-2. This was a great game, like you said. Monday, 1 o'clock start, always weird when we talked about that on the IC show and the post-game show that this was a weird start time. And you saw that in the first period. I mean, both these teams looks like they were half asleep in the first period. The only goal was Kyle Connor on the power play, but then it really picked up and the Jets top line. I mean, what more can you say about they didn't have their best showing, and they didn't really produce as much as we've come accustomed to on Saturday in the 5-0 win, weirdly enough. But man, they showed up tonight. Mark Scheifele with the hat trick, Kyle Connor with 2 goals, and some unbelievable plays from Gabriel Velarde, who didn't score on this night, but was all over the ice.
10 points. And Connor referenced the Saturday show. I mean, maybe the Jets don't need any other line to produce the first line, because really nobody else had it going on tonight, boys.
No,
it was the Scheifele Connor Velarde show. And I'm with you, Connor. Like, in a game in which, they dominated the Wild, you'd think that line would be more prominent. But what you got to love is that this line produced at 5-on-5 tonight, right? And obviously they scored on the power play as well. But Scheifele was phenomenal. And, these wins, guys, for me at least, definitely erase those 2 games in California, because that was a big question mark going into these games, right? Like, what Jets are we going to get here? And now 7-2-1 in their last 10 after these last 2 wins. And now you can go into the break, and all the boys are going to go on their vacations, at least the ones that are going on their vacations. It's going to be a short vacation, obviously, because they've
3 days. They're back on the ice Friday at 1:00 at back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these guys are going to probably fly in, out for a couple nights, but regardless, they get some needed rest, spend some time with their family over the Christmas break. But yeah, I was really impressed, especially with the third period, right? Like, obviously, guys, we'll get into Hayden Fleury. Hopefully, he's not going to be out for that long. But the way he left the ice,
it looked bad.
We're not going to speculate, but he could. That when something like that happens, you're already thinking, okay, that could be not just weeks, that could be months with that type of injury.
Yeah, I would agree with Ezzy's assessment there. When a guy can't put any weight on, we know hockey players that even, look, sometimes when they break their blades, they still try and get back into the play of the game, even though they can't actually stand up on the ice. And Hayden Fleury was in some distress. And, the rules being what they are, that, you have to wait till the game, the way the game, the pressure is alleviated, and then they can blow the whistle. But you knew that the officials knew, everybody on the ice knew, as soon as that puck left the blue line, there was going to be a whistle. It certainly did not look good for Hayden Fleury. You hope that it's not as bad as it looked, because he's been playing, I would argue, not having watched his entire career, every shift of every game that he's played, but I would say that he's probably playing the best hockey of his career in the most significant role to this point in his career. And he's going to be out of the lineup. We're going to assume, that it's not unfortunate that the timing of this, a guy who's trying to sort of get better game by game in an elevated role, the timing's not good on this one for the Winnipeg Jets perspective, Connor.
Yeah, and Dylan Sandberg, Scott O'Neill said that the plan, very tentative plan, is for him to start skating December 27th. And I even had some people in my Twitter mentions saying, well, at least Dylan Sandberg's coming back soon. Well, yes, he's going to begin skating December 27th, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be back anytime soon. Like, I still would, guess mid to late January for Dylan Sandberg's return. So this is still, if Hayden Fleury, again, we're not going to speculate until Scott O'Neill says anything post game or next week with an update. But if Hayden Fleury were to miss a couple weeks, it's going to be Ville Heinola. It's going to be Logan Stanley, who's also not healthy right now. And they're probably going to recall Dylan Coughlin or something to that effect, because Dylan Sandberg won't be stepping in December 28th against the Ottawa Senators. He's still probably weeks away.
Yeah, Connor, you nailed it, and that's why it's a good thing they didn't lose Coughlin on waivers, because otherwise Chevy would be scouring the post break winter freeze trade, waiver wire, right? So now having a guy like Dylan Coughlin is going to come in handy, because, like you said, this could be something that keeps him out of the lineup for a while. And I'm with you. I mean, I would love to say Sandberg is going to be back, a week from now, but it looks like it's going to be more like 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, we've all been around this team long enough, and we've all watched enough of these games and know enough about timelines to know once a guy starts skating, he skates on his own for a few days, then he gets into a yellow jersey and joins practice, and then after the yellow jersey, he gets into a regular jersey, and then maybe from there, he's a game or 2 games away. So, you can do the math, you can figure it out. It's not something that's going to be around, now maybe that timeline gets fast forwarded a little bit, but we're assuming that Hayden Fleury, that the injury to Hayden Fleury was something more than that's going to require more than just the next 3 days off the ice. Just watching it, we're not doctors. We're going to just make assumptions and hope that we're wrong in this case. But the Winnipeg Jets will certainly be facing, it appears, will be facing some adversity on their back end when it comes to an already sort of questionable part of their defense, that left side. Now Ville Heinola, a guy who is just starting to maybe look a little bit more comfortable. I
thought he was really good tonight, actually, and especially I think he ended up just under 13 minutes, right? So obviously you had Morrissey double shifting with Hayden Fleury out, so Morrissey was I think around 25 and a half minutes. Well, but I thought Heinola looked good. He was just playing a simple game, right? And at this point, that's what you want to see for a guy who's been in and out of the lineup, and he's kind of been a little bit lost and turned the puck over a little bit in his own zone, right? So I had this comment up, kept it up for a while. Miller is a journeyman. Don't underestimate experience. I agree. I thought Miller looked really good. And that's the thing, right? Like, you got, how many times this year, guys, have we said, Colin Miller makes a mistake or Colin Miller didn't have a bad game? He is that steadying veteran influence on the back end. And obviously they're going to rely on him, even though he's more of he is a right side guy, he is a right shot defenseman. But yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, if Logan Stanley's healthy, most likely you're going to see Ville Heinola. If Hayden Fleury can't go, most likely you are going to see that. And that's going to be, challenging for the Jets. That left side now is depleted. And obviously, you could make the argument like this is the perfect opportunity to put these guys, right into the frying pan, right? But
really any other option.
Exactly. Yeah. You really have Dylan Coughlin to call up. Simon Lundmark, that's an emergency. I saw people, talking about him taking the pregame skate. That's just because Logan Stanley's injured right now and they don't have any other defensemen available.
Well, but to call him up, there had to have been somebody who had. Well, there had to have been somebody who was banged up. I would assume, in order to have Lundmark be the guy. I mean, just to bring him in there had to have been somebody on the back. I guess you never want to be you never want to be shorthanded. You never want to find out that somebody twists something in warm up and not have somebody you can tap on the shoulder in the case of an emergency. With Coughlin, once I'm sure it had to do with not wanting to restart the waivers clock, which is sort of what Toronto's been doing with Matt Murray. He played, of course, for the Leafs a couple nights ago. I think that was Friday night, if I recall correctly.
How many people forgot that Matt Murray was still property of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Like,
right over here, this guy right here. But he played Friday night for the Leafs, and then they put him right back down to the Marlies because of he had already cleared waivers once, and if you send him back down, then the clock sort of pauses on that until you have to clear him through again. And I'm sure the Jets didn't want to restart the Coughlin clock for a situation where it didn't seem like he was going to be required in the lineup. Obviously, that might change Saturday against the Ottawa Senators. That's when the Jets are next in action after the holiday break. So I would assume, and of course, anytime I assume, what that makes me, we'll find out some additional moves that'll happen on Friday when the Jets head back on the ice. But for now, back to this game tonight, this is exactly what you want to see from the Winnipeg Jets. A full strength Winnipeg Jets, the Leafs 3 and 4 nights, or 3 and 4 days, as the weird schedule case may have been. We talked about it on Saturday. The Jets caught the Wild on the second half of back-to-back. The schedule has loosened up a little bit for the Jets. No Austin Matthews. The Jets played a very smart game, I thought, by and large. Couple breakdowns here and there, but that's to be expected. But what impressed me most is after the Leafs made it 4-2. So Tavares scores to make it 4-2 with about, 7 minutes to go, somewhere right around there. The Jets did a really good job of keeping everything. Anytime the Leafs had the puck in the Jet zone, it was to the outside. They kept everything. They really collapsed well, and they prevented the Leafs from being able to sniff another goal to get it within a 1-goal game. So the Jets, a team that is certainly far better than they used to be at protecting leads, demonstrated that tonight in maintaining that 2-goal lead, ultimately the 3-goal victory once the empty netter for Scheifele goes in.
It was just a solid, like, we've used this word before on the post-game show, like, it was just a solid workman-like game, right? Like, it was just like and these aren't sexy words like when you're talking about hockey, right? But like, it is
not
sexy
words
winning.
like Ginsburg or anything like that. That's a sexy word.
Yeah. No, Harabchak for sure is bringing sexy back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, right, guys?
Oh, God.
But
Connor's never going to do another show with us again.
I'm just gonna hit this red X leave studio. See what happens.
Yeah, that's probably a very advisable.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all, Connor. But yeah, no, I mean, Drew, you're right. I mean, this was an impressive game, and look, it was a 1-goal game going into the third period. I mean, the Leafs obviously got the goal from John Tavares on the power play, and it was a game, and you're down a defenseman, so there's many reasons why you could say, you know, the Leafs could tie this game up, not to mention the fact the Leafs are a really good hockey team, right? Let's not forget that. But this was a really patient road game, I thought. And Drew, you're right. I mean, down a defenseman in the third period, you know, they were impressive. They didn't give the Leafs a lot of second opportunities. There was that one chance where which defenseman came in and Hellebuck made the pad save. It was hold on a second. No, Philip Myers. Remember when he came in and he had the chance and we weren't sure if Hellebuck got a piece of it or it hit the post? It did hit the post, but Hellebuck's pad was still there. So I still think he might have got a piece of it. But regardless, remember the save he made on Connor Dewar, the partial breakaway? I think Connor Dewar, I checked, had 5 shots on net, so good for the Manitoban. But Hellebuck was really good in net. He didn't have to be spectacular, but he was just really good. And, you know, the Jets gave him the run support. And again, the top line guys at 5-on-5, like that to me is the story, because obviously, you know, the Jets get the power play goal and that's great. And they continue to be red hot, but it's the Scheifele lines play at 5-on-5. In terms of the Nemesnikov, Perfetti, Ehlers line, that's another story. I didn't think they had a very good game.
No, they were.
But again, they didn't need to be. I mean, some games you don't have to be.
But you want to see them better, Connor. I mean, you want to see them, the Jets, you know, yes, on Saturday, everything was going well for the Winnipeg Jets, and the success was towards the bottom of the lineup than the top of the lineup. But you want to see both. You want to see the top and the bottom going on the same game, and we really haven't seen a lot of that. Just Corsi for percentage for the Ehlers, Nemesnikov, Perfetti line was 25% in today's game. Although the only line that was positive in terms of possession was Appleton, Lowry, and Niederreiter. They were up close to 70%. The possession numbers were heavily tilted in the Leafs' favor. I don't know that I totally felt that in the course of the game, though.
Yeah.
Which sort of jumped out at me. Go ahead, Connor.
No, I agree with you. I felt the exact same way. I was checking natural stat trick late in the third period, and I was kind of shocked at the shot attempts there. But I want to say that the Lowry line, Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast had a great point that the Jets start that line so that they have a template of what the other lines need to look like, that workman's effort, like you said, Ezzy. And the Lowry line, while they weren't rewarded on this night, I thought I mean, the top line was obviously the Jets' best line, but I thought that Lowry line was right there in terms of their forechecking ability. You talk about how the Jets were down to 5 defensemen in the third period and how that line was out there a lot defending the lead. They were killing a lot of time in the Maple Leaf zone, just cycling it around, generating chances as well. I know Nino Niederreiter had a chance, and he even went barreling into the net on that one, drawing a penalty, which the Jets then scored on. So that third line, while they didn't get any goals on this night and the top line carried the offense, they were a big reason for the defensive effort, drawing penalties, keeping the puck away from Tavares and Nylander and Marner. And then I also want to highlight that Neil Pionk stick lift. I mean, a lot of people I know love that. He winds up for the slap shot. The shot gets blocked, but to hustle back all the way back to not even like let up a shot. And I love the ref standing there going stick lift, because you just know the crowd was getting ready to like get on the refs for something, a hook, a slash, anything. But the ref was like, no, it's a perfect stick lift. And it was. And that was a big play at that moment from Pionk.
Well, you
Connor,
know, funny you mentioned.
Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, Connor, you mentioned Adam Lowry, and you know, as I'm down here watching the game on a totally legal and above board bootleg feed of the game, I had to toggle between TSN 3 and TSN 4. And one of the moments when I was watching TSN 4, Gord Miller he was doing the game with Mike Johnson, and he sort of just sighed and said, you know, I really wouldn't want to ever play against Adam Lowry on a regular basis. It was after a big heavy shift by Lowry's line, and Mike Johnson just sort of chuckled and is like, you know, man, you feel it every single time you play against him, and that's what you want from the Winnipeg Jets captain. You talk about them setting the tone and setting the identity for the Winnipeg Jets. That is certainly the Jets' hardest line to play against on a physical, aspect, not necessarily skill, but they have the skill too. But just physically, they're just such a beast to play against that every team is in the ice bath as a result of those repeated shifts against them.
I agree with Connor and Drew about Lowry and that line. Obviously, the Niederreiter just bowls the net, right? Like, and draws the penalty. Was it Mitch Marner who got the penalty? I forgot. I think it was Mitch Marner that got the penalty in the first period. Regardless, Nino Niederreiter drew it, and wanted to just add something, because I'm glad you brought up Pionk, Connor, because I thought he was excellent tonight. And look, he's a guy who's a little bit of a lightning rod for criticism, right? On the second pair, especially, we talked about it on the Saturday show. Dylan Sandberg and Pionk together have been so good. Fleury and Pionk, their underlying numbers, not so much. And, that's more so, I think, to do with the fact that Hayden Fleury is playing in an elevated role as opposed to Pionk, because he's still having a great year offensively at the very least. But just wanted to mention his stat line here tonight: 24 minutes and 5 seconds of ice time, 5 block shots, 2 hits. He had a giveaway, but he had a takeaway, and he was a +1, right? So pretty impressive with the block shots and the amount of ice time he was logging in this afternoon's game. So again, we criticize him, but you also have to, give him credit when he has good games, right? Like, Pionk is a guy, it's not like Morrissey, right? Like, Morrissey, every single game, he's fantastic. Right. I mean, maybe like 1 or 2 games in an 82 game season, he doesn't have a good game, but I wouldn't even be able to pick out 1 or 2 games, to be honest with you. But, when Pionk steps up big time against a really good opponent, even if they don't have Austin Matthews guys, I mean, William Nylander he's having a crazy year.
He's having an incredible year.
He made a really Nylander had a really good chance on Hellebuck, I remember, in the second period, and Hellebuck made it look easy. But Nylander, he was all over the ice. Obviously, Tavares had a big game.
The pass by Nylander is what sets up the Tavares goal. Which is just an incredible, right? That was the Tavares goal. Yeah, just an incredible pass over to Jake McCabe that eventually gives it to Tavares. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We got into that in the Play Now game recap. Well, why don't we start that? It's 22 minutes in. This is the final Illegal Curve show before the holiday break. So let's get into it. Drew Mindell, Connor Harabchuk, Ezra Ginsburg. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button. We're going to go goal by goal like we do on the show. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
To our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show, the Illegal Curve hockey show, and illegalcurve.com. Sign up for Play Now and get a casino welcome bonus up to $150. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Kenny Weeb is on site in Toronto. Scott Arneal said that Hayden Fleury is day-to-day after suffering what appeared to be a knee injury in the final minute of the second period. I myself am going to put a bit of an asterisk to that day-to-day. You say day-to-day today because there's no reason to say anything else until you get him back to Winnipeg or you get him reevaluated. I mean, day-to-day means let's check in again on Friday and we'll see how he is.
I was going to say, Drew, in this context, day-to-day might just be out indefinitely, right? Like, if just hearing day-to-day, I mean, like, if you would have said week to week, then obviously we're having right off the bat a different conversation about Fleury being out more long-term, but yeah, we'll wait and see. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see after the break how the Jets manage their defense, because we assume Logan Stanley's going to be back and he'll be healthy. But you probably still have to have an extra defenseman. So
right, exactly. And that'll work itself out come Friday when the Jets are back on the ice. Let's get into it. So the Jets open the scoring. I'm looking at my cell phone. I got my notes here. Again, I need a second screen when I'm on the road, folks. Although I do want to say somebody reached out to me and said I should buy, there's apparently you can take a foldable second screen with you if you travel. So if I start traveling more, maybe I'll start doing that.
I'm just worried, Drew, that you're cold, because on Saturday morning show you kept complaining about the weather in Kentucky was a little bit
warmer.
Cold, even though Connor and I are going out and shoveling our snow in minus 25 weather. You're complaining about 40 degrees.
No, it's warmer today. Today it's much warmer. So today you won't get any complaints from me, although the sun's going down, so it is dropping. But it was a much warmer day today.
Okay. I just want to make sure that those little fingers aren't getting cold.
Okay, good. No, my fingies aren't quite cold enough just yet. Kyle Connor opens the scoring at the 16:04 mark of the first period. It's after Nino Niederreiter takes that strong net drive. The Maple Leafs get called for a penalty. Mitch Marner specifically gets called for hooking Niederreiter. Connor, his 20th of the year, not Harabchuk, but Kyle Connor, his 20th of the year, assist to Gabe Vilardi and Josh Morrissey. Starts with a clean face-off win. The Jets get possession. They move it around. Good shot by Morrissey from the point. Good rebound onto the stick of Kyle Connor. Joseph Woll is moving. I guess that would be from his right to his left. But Kyle Connor is better than a moving Joseph Woll. And the Jets lead 1-0 as he.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you guys, thought this right after the goal or as the goal was being scored or watching the replay. Joseph Woll is kind of just like a deer in a headlight, right? Like he just kind of stops. And obviously, yes, you're right, Drew. It's a good point shot for Morrissey, and Kyle Connor, after we should mention too, is clean face-off win, right? And the puck comes, Connor puts the puck back to Morrissey, and then Connor goes to exactly where the rebound goes, right? So obviously, let's give Kyle Connor credit here for going to the spot that he should go to jump on that rebound. But just watching that, Joseph Woll kind of the initial shot comes through and it's like he didn't know where it was and he just froze, right? So then that's why Kyle Connor had such an empty net, because like you said, then Woll's coming right to left, but he's way too late. So again, good execution by the Jets, and good on Kyle Connor for getting to the puck quickly. But I just thought Joseph Woll just he didn't make it easy on himself by just kind of freezing and having no idea where that rebound went.
Well, I think that speaks to tracking the puck, Connor, the litany of traffic. You look at that. I mean, you look at the number of bodies that were in front of Joseph Woll taking away his eyes there. You sort of understand why he may have had trouble picking up where the puck went to. And of course, going to Kyle Connor is a good spot for it to go from the Jets' perspective.
Yeah, and Scott O'Neill and Davis Payne, the power play coach, they always mention this attack mentality, and you saw it off that faceoff. The faceoff was won, and it was a shot, and there was bodies at the net, and everyone was crashing. And there was a minute 10 left in the power play at the time. This wasn't an expiring power play. They're just attacking right off the draw. And I want to highlight Kyle Connor here because he shoots this puck. Like, if a right-handed player was there, say that's Mark Scheifele waiting for that rebound, then he can take it and shoot it all in one motion. But for a left-handed player to be on the right side of the ice and contort their body and open up while they're shooting and not have to control that puck, Nikolai Ehlers can't do that. He would have to take it on his backhand and go to his forehand. And as talented as Nikolai Ehlers is, Kyle Connor does things that other players in the NHL can't do. He's one of the best snipers in the league, and being able to contort your body while the puck's in your feet and the goalie's scrambling and still be able to shoot the puck over the goalie and roof it and not kind of flub that puck is an unbelievable play. And it's subtle. It's not something that it's something that we've come accustomed to see out of Kyle Connor because he's always doing things like this. But I don't know, a left-handed player, when I saw this goal, would have to go on their backhand, take that puck, then go to the forehand, then shoot, not Kyle Connor, who can just do things that other players can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have Kyle Connor up to 20 goals, 21, of course, as the game ends. What's that, his 8th straight year getting 20 goals? Just Mr. Consistency for the Winnipeg Jets.
I think he's going to hit 50 this year. I really do.
Well, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Predicting it for a long time, but I really do think this is going to be the year.
Well, I mean, if the power play continues to succeed at the rate that it's succeeding.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I think this year's different. The Jets have never had, I think, again, I always go back. I feel like, I'm constantly going back to 2017, 18. Maybe we all are, because those were the good old days, right? Where the Jets went to the West Final. But I think even that year with Line and Buff and, Wheeler, all those guys, I still think this power play is better. I really do. I think with Vilardi and Perfetti, it's more dangerous.
It certainly has it's more, I would say, pick your poison. I mean, with Wheeler, with that, I mean, he was an exceptional passer at that point in time, but his shot just wasn't a threat. So now you have now, I think on this power play, you have threats from everybody on the ice. And I'm not trying to pick on Blake Wheeler, folks. That's just the reality of it. He was an incredible playmaker at that point, but he wasn't the best goal scorer on the team. Now you have everybody who's got a sort of both a combination of playmaking abilities and goal scoring abilities. 1-0 for the Jets at that point. That's how the 20 minutes come to an end. But it doesn't take long into the second period for Kyle Connor to get blackjack, his 21st goal of the year, assist to Mark Scheifele, who also gets blackjack on this one, his 21st assist of the year. And it's 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. A minute 16 in. I mean, you love the effort by Mark Scheifele here. It starts with a shot block, at the defensive blue line. So he starts it in his own zone. He blocks the shot of Mitch Marner. He goes back. He gets the loose puck. It's a 2-on-1. He recognizes that there's a defender back, and Kyle Connor, I believe it's John Tavares that he beats sort of to the far post, and Scheifele with the great pass onto Connor's stick, and he tucks it behind Joseph Wall to make it 2-0 for the Jets, Connor.
Yeah, and I talked about that Kyle Connor does things that other players can't. Well, Mark Scheifele's patience on this 2-on-1 is also another thing that's maybe one of his best traits and was on full display. A lot of players on this 2-on-1 maybe would shoot or would force the pass early, but Mark Scheifele kind of stops, like backs up almost, drawing out Mitch Marner from the middle of the ice. And then, yeah, like you said, Kyle Connor is bolting to the back door, and Mark Scheifele puts it right on his tape, and it's a perfect pass. And Mark Scheifele is able to kind of find those pockets when he's making these passes into high danger spots. And who better to finish it off than Kyle Connor, who just backhands it home, shovels it home. But yeah, Mark Scheifele, this was the start of a really, really solid game for him. This assist to Kyle Connor. And it's one of the displays of patience that we see out of Scheifele all the time, what makes him such an effective passer.
Yeah, and going back to what you said before, Connor, I agree that with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, they're making plays at a high level. No, I hate saying that. They're making ultra skilled plays. Let's go with that. So much that sometimes you overlook the subtleties, right? And I think that's what you're talking about here. You're absolutely right. Scheifele has always been a patient player, but it seems like almost like we've been seeing that even more this year. And just you love that he blocks the Marner. And I'm not sure again if you guys these are just the random things that go through my head, right? Like that was how big of an not an FU, but how rewarding, let's say, is that for Scheifele? Marner obviously makes Team Canada, and Scheifele completely, like, that to me, not just 15, on that play.
15 points for Scheifele in the 10 games the Jets have played.
And that's what I'm saying.
Make Team
and
Canada.
Again, I'm not pointing this out to like say that obviously.
But don't worry, Steve Simmons says it's because Scheifele has a bad attitude.
Yeah, like, did he make that up? I feel like he made that up.
It's. I mean, we haven't really talked about.
Like, where does that come from? I've never heard Scheifele has a bad attitude.
Well, okay, fine. If you are going to say that, I mean, I'm gonna rant a little bit here, and this is the problem with it was in Steve Simmons' Sunday column right after Team Canada came out. He came out and he said that, and he wrote it in his column. He wrote it as a basically a 5-word one-liner buried within the body of the column. If you're going to say that. If you're going to make that as a statement, I do think it's journalistically irresponsible to not provide some additional context to that. I mean, and it's old school. I mean, this is an issue of old school versus new school, because old school columnists would say, yeah, I can do that. I that's no problem. Whereas I think the reader today, whomever the reader is, would like some additional context, because, Steve Simmons can say that, but who the hell's Steve Simmons? Where's he getting that from? Is that a source within Team Canada? If it is, say it. You don't have to give up your source specifically, but say who is telling you that. Is Steve Simmons making that up himself? Is that the word among NHL general managers? I don't know the answers to any of these, but I do think it is a bit, it's more than a little degrading both to Scheifele and to Steve Simmons readers to not provide additional information about that. I have deliberately not wanted to bring it up to give it more oxygen, but it bothered me when I saw it, and it bothers me today to have.
I don't think you were the only one, Drew. I think a lot of people saw that and were wondering, like, where is this coming from? It's one thing for Scheifele to lose out on a spot based on merit, right? Like, and you could easily say that he deserves to be there, but I mean, look, Brandon Hagel is having a good year, and like, kind of what I heard was that with Seth Jarvis was one of the last players selected, which makes sense, right? Because Seth Jarvis was a little bit, off the board. So was Travis Sanheim. Also, let's be honest here. I'm picking those guys out because I'm proud that they're Manitobans making the team, but there's a lot of other good players is the point I'm trying to make. So I think if you said they preferred Seth Jarvis over Mark Scheifele because X, and then, or they preferred Brandon Hagel over Scheifele because of Y, right? Like, but it wasn't. It was basically saying that one of the reasons why Scheifele didn't make the team was because of his poor attitude. And also, we had a comment up there earlier. I forget who it was, but he was saying Scheifele does have a bit of attitude, but all hockey players do, right? And it's true, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, is Scheifele have more of an attitude than Gabe Vilardi? Like we've seen Vilardi sometimes, like Connor is often in those scrums. Sometimes, Vilardi gets a little bit testy with some of the questions, right? Like, so does Gabe Vilardi have an attitude? Like, I think for to a certain degree, all of these guys have an attitude, right? So, yeah, I agree with you, Drew. And going back to what you said, I don't take Steve Simmons seriously, so I don't really anything he writes or talks about, I don't really pay attention to. I'm not a big fan of Steve Simmons. I apologize, Steve, but he's just not a guy. He's not a thought leader for me.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. Let's move on. 2-0 for the Jets after the Connor, his second goal of the game. Connor Hrabchuk, the Maple Leafs make it 2-1 at the 5:25 mark of the second period. It's a power play goal. Mason Appleton gets called for a double minor for high sticking. It was clearly an accidental high stick. You could almost make the argument that it shouldn't have been because it was after a follow through, but he sort of flubbed on the shot. So I think that sort of disqualified the follow-through aspect of it, but Tavares just taps it in. It's just a beautiful pass by Mitch Marner. This is just such a high-level pass. I watched the replay a few times, and it doesn't even look like the pass is that hard or that fast, but he gets it through Hayden Fleury so expertly, and Tavares is on the back door, the back post, and he's got an easy tap-in to make it 2-1 at that point in time.
Yeah, and the Jets penalty kill at this time, I mean, they went 4-for-4 against Minnesota, which was one of the biggest reasons why that game was so dominant. And then this game, down 2-0 with a double minor, I mean, only that can flip the game completely if they score on both, right? So to only give up the one goal is a positive at this time. Of course, you don't want to see any goals, but this is, again, a special play from Mitch Marner. He is one of the best passers in the entire NHL. It's why him and Austin Matthews work so well together. And why Mitch Marner's going to be in Canada's top 6, right? And it's an incredible play. John Tavares doesn't have to do much. He's just standing there with his stick on the back door. You'd like to see that guy tied up if you're the Winnipeg Jets. You don't want a guy just being able to stand there and tap the puck in on the penalty kill. But again, it's a really nice play, and props to the Jets for regrouping, because the Leafs had another 2-minute penalty. They scored before the cutoff and killed off the second one, kept this game 2-1, and then the Jets ran away with it from there.
And I know the Jets have the first power play in the NHL, but that Leafs power play, even without Austin Matthews,
looked good.
Is pretty dangerous, right? So you're absolutely right. And I think going back to what you said, Connor, about Kyle Connor, about Mark Scheifele and his patience and IQ. Like Mitch Marner has space there, right? Like he could have Nylander passes cross seam pass, and he easily could have just stopped it and maybe took a shot. And you're right. I mean, he's more of a puck distributor. But he one-times it, right? Or one touches it, if you want to call it that. And so smart, because like you said, John Tavares, I don't think was expecting it, right? Like it kind of goes off his skate first, I believe, right? So I mean, Mitch Marner's incredible. And going back to Beaufort, he's a guy that you just couldn't keep it off of Team Canada for that reason alone, in addition to the fact that he's similar to Ehlers. He's the one-man zone entry too. So Marner was fantastic today, but obviously that line was not good enough.
No, 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets, 2-1 after 40 minutes. Of course, the Hayden Fleury injury happens late in that second period. Scott Arniel, for those just joining us, Scott Arniel saying he's day-to-day. Time will tell. We'll see on Friday when the Jets are next back on the ice to prepare for Saturday's home game. Jets are at home for most of the month of January, remember, folks. So they're at home on Saturday. They're at home on Monday. Then New Year's Eve, they head out to Colorado just for that one-off, if I recall correctly. Then they're home for most of the month of January. So,
next 11 of 12 are at home.
Yeah, so, a team that's been pretty damn good, well, on the road and at home, now will have a real opportunity to continue to keep the good times rolling all the way through the Four Nations Cup break and for the entire, really, and where else would you want to be in the month of January than the city of Winnipeg? I mean, let's be perfectly honest. That's just Shangri-La come that time of year. 2-1 for the Jets, late after 40 minutes. You'd love to see this start to the third period, 3:27 in. Mark Scheifele gets his first of the game, first of the period. It's an assist to Gabe Vilardi and Kyle Connor. I mean, who wants to talk about Velarde's hands on this one? I mean,
Me.
I'm an old. Okay,
I'll go
Connor,
for
it's
it.
all
Now
yours.
let's give it to Connor here.
I'm an old school tennis player. When I was a kid, I used to play tennis. I was a pretty okay tennis
Emphasis
player.
on old, Connor.
Yeah, emphasis on old wooden rackets and and things of that
Oh
nature.
yeah, and your
But
pulled up white socks. Let's not
that's
forget
right.
about those.
I still wear those. What are you talking about, Angie? I still wear my white socks up to my knees.
No, all joking aside, Drew had a U.S. people at Glendale Golf and Country Club. Drew was a good tennis player. He was.
Played elsewhere.
Yeah, but you were a good tennis player. I got to
was a
give
good
you
tennis
credit.
player. I was.
Yeah.
I agree. I was tooting my own
I've
horn. I
never played
appreciate-
you, but I've just heard secondhand.
Yeah.
Because we've been friends, obviously, reluctantly for 25 years, 30
Right.
years. But yes, you were considered. I think your nickname was Winnipeg's Pete Sampras, was it not?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways, Connor, Gabe Velarde's hands, his pass to Mark Scheifele. I mean, how much more can you say about this one? I think Scheifele beat Bobby McMahon to get to the spot to be able to receive the pass, but this is Gabe Velarde just absolutely doing what he does best.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all remember that goal that was scored. It was Velarde's goal, but it was him and Ehlers against the New York Rangers on the road this year, where Velarde's like batting the puck out of midair while he's deking around a defender, and then it creates a 2-on-0. This was kind of the same thing. He's batting the puck out of the air while he's kind of crossing over the face of the defender and like spins the defender inside out before firing a backhand pass right on Scheifele's tape, backdoor tap in. I don't even know. Like I watched the replay. Gabe Velarde's so busy deking out the defender and batting the puck out of the air. I don't know how he sees Mark Scheifele going to the back door, let alone puts the puck right on his tape. So this is just a special play. This is one of the highlight reel goals of the season for me. And Gabe Velarde just seems to be doing this more and more often, where he's making defenders look silly with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And this play with batting the puck out of the air, we saw it against the Rangers, but this one almost equally as nice because of the pass after it, which was incredibly difficult. And all Scheifele had to do was whack it home.
Well, like you said, like it's on the backhand, and then he kind of has to cut back, and then he's doing all of this while it was. Who did we say was on him there? Was it Bobby McMahon that we said was covering him there?
Bobby McMahon was covering Scheifele.
Okay, so whatever defenseman was, I'd have to go look and check. I don't remember who the defenseman was for the Leafs, but it doesn't matter. There you go. Thank you, Connor.
Can't tell with these numbers and the black jerseys.
Oh,
But
they're
I think
such
it's Jake
ugly
McKay.
jerseys.
Okay, yeah. If you allow me to rant, no, I'm not going to rant. But those are not those jerseys. I would give them maybe a 2 out of 10.
Let me ask you guys this question: would the Montreal Canadiens wear a jersey like that?
No,
because they stand for, history and class and elegance. And if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean, we know you're never going to get anywhere near the same number of Stanley Cups that the Canadians have, but don't you want to stand for something similar as opposed to stand for gimmicks and just whoever's going to park money at your door, and you wear some ugly black monstrosity? Awful. Sorry.
But Connor's absolutely right. It's hard to read the numbers. That's probably why I can't figure out which defenseman it was. But it's just Gabe Velarde doing that at speed, and just like Connor's right. It's just so hard for players to do that. Like he's literally just posterizing the guy going through his legs. And so, I mean, it was an incredible goal. And going back to what I said before, it's at 5-on-5. That's what I love about this goal, because at that point, the Jets are up 2-1. It's a completely wide open game. And in an afternoon game, when you've got Connor Hellebuck, who's playing the way he has this year, you kind of knew that it was going to be hard for the Leafs to score 3 goals and then come back and win this game 4-3, right? So an absolutely huge goal. And I'm with you, Connor. One of the nicest displays of individual, I think, creativity that we've seen on the Jets this year.
And just one last thing on this goal. Through 3 goals now from the top line, I know Connor got 2 and Scheifele got 1, but we saw the best skill of each player of the top line. We saw Kyle Connor's ability to shoot the puck, that fast release, Mark Scheifele's patience and passing, and then Gabriel Velarde's hands. That's each of those 3 players' best offensive trait or skill. And we saw all 3 of them on all 3 goals. And this was just, we led the show with what more can you say about the top line, and through 3 goals, it's ridiculous.
And also look at the players who like Scheifele blocks the shot. It's Mitch Marner. These are top players, right? Jake McCabe, he's not a household name. He's having a good year. Like let's not kid ourselves. Jake McCabe's he's a solid defenseman, right?
Yeah.
So it's like these guys are making these plays at high speed against the other team's best players, right?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, Connor. We saw the best of each one of the guys on the top line, and these are the most fun games to watch, I think, for me at least. When Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde are playing like this, that's when the Jets are at their peak, right? Like, obviously, they need the second and third lines and sometimes the fourth line to chip in. That's a conversation for another day. But, I mean, when you're putting in 10 points against the top team in the Atlantic Division, I mean, the other lines don't really have to do much, do they?
No, 10 points for the top line, and or I guess actually 11. I think Scheifele, and because Connor gets an assist on the empty netter as well. So 11 for the top line, plus 2 for Josh Morrissey. So the Jets' big stars came out to play this afternoon in Toronto. So it's now 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. They get that early third period goal, which is terrific. And then they make it 4-1. Again, another just hard working play. This is Josh Morrissey. I mean, he gets on his horse. He takes a hit to make a play. And then Mark Scheifele, it's just a jam play at the side of Joseph Woll. And he eventually jams it in just over the line. The goal counts. Anybody else surprised that there wasn't a challenge for goalie interference there?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Connor.
Very. And I saw Steve Dangle tweet out, I mean, Leafs fan, of course, tweet out the same thing, that he was shocked that the Leafs didn't challenge that. I mean, that goal takes you from down 3-1 to 4-1 with 8 minutes left in the game. And it's not clear-cut goalie interference. Like, it's not obvious, but it's
worth the challenge.
There's a gray area. Yeah, it's worth a challenge when you go down 3 goals with 8 minutes left, right? I don't know. Right. I was shocked to not see a challenge. Yeah.
I thought there'd be a challenge there too, because I mean, first of all, we all know that we don't have any clue what goaltender interference is, but it certainly looked like Scheifele. It wasn't like the puck was crystal clear that it wasn't frozen. And there was a lot of digging and a lot of hacking at that pad before that puck went over the line.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was surprised there wasn't a review for either the goalie interference or just the puck crossing the line. Right, it was hard to see like what exactly happened there. It looked to me like the puck wasn't clearly over the line. Maybe I was wrong on that. There was a lot going on.
Eventually, you saw a replay that showed that it clearly went over. But I mean,
but live as it was happening.
Oh yeah,
because you could see Scheifele celebrating. And again, guys, if you want to break the goal down, because I do think it's worth breaking down. Again, Morrissey pokes the puck, and it's McCabe again, right? Like so Morrissey makes the nice poke on McCabe, who's a very solid defensive defenseman. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful pass over to Scheifele. And so Morrissey deserves a ton of credit. Like, again, it's hard sometimes for us who cover the Jets to find superlatives for these guys. But really, like, I have lots of time to talk about Morrissey's game tonight and just how well he's been playing this season overall. And I can't wait to see him play for Canada at the Four Nations tournament. I really can't. But this, to me, is just, he pokes the puck away from McCabe, skates down the ice, and just makes an incredible pass over to Scheifele. So this was a great goal. As somebody's making it rain here in the chat, Stuart Scott giving us $25. Merry Christmas,
Stan
Stuart.
Scott, his name's Stan Scott, not
Stan
Scott. Stuart Scott is no longer with us.
I need that money because I actually had to get a new dryer today. My dryer conked out. No. So shout out to the folks at Midland Appliance World on Portage. They hooked me up with a nice Maytag dryer. I was texting Connor. I mean, I've got 2 young kids, Drew. You know what it's like. You got to have a dryer. Yeah. The guy came today. It was
you got to have somewhere for them to play.
So yes, Stan, it's been an expensive day for me with, an electrician had to come over. I have to get a 240 volt plug put in for my dryer because the other one was a gas dryer. It's been a day here, Drew.
I have empathy for you. Unexpected expenses this time of year are never something you want. Unfortunately, that nobody could bring some drywall over while they were at it. But I guess
I'm
that's
still looking
January.
for a drywall. I'm a drywall angel to come here and put some drywall.
We'll see if one of the hardware companies in town want to sponsor Ezzy's drywall project.
Well, we have a regular viewer, Drywall Man, so I'm assuming he does drywall. I just have to find out his real name. I'm assuming his real name is not Drywall Man.
My father, by the way, just texted me. He did not like my kids playing in the dryer joke. He just texted to say that was a very bad joke. I mean, I thought it was Sheldon's
Sheldon's always watching, Drew. Zeta is
always watching. Anyways, Jets lead 4-1 after that. 4-2, the Leafs make it this coming just under 2 minutes later, 1 minute and 45 seconds later. John Tavares, his 17th. He loves playing against the Winnipeg Jets. Assist to Jake McCabe and William Nylander. Just a little too much aggressiveness, I think, by Scheifele and Velarde. They get caught too deep in the Leafs zone. Leafs come in with the odd man rush. A beautiful pass, though, by Nylander onto the stick of McCabe, who finds the trailer Tavares, and he's able to walk right in, sort of just to the top of the circles, and he wires it past Connor Hellebuyck to give the Leafs some life at 4-2 with about just over 6 minutes to go in the third period, Ezzy.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, at that point, they didn't really have a lot of life. And, John Tavares, like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I realize his contract status is a little bit, like, some people aren't really sure, what he's going to get or how long of a contract he's going to get. But
still a point-a-game player this year.
Well, that's the thing, Drew. It's like Tavares, it's like people talk about him as if, like, he's not still an elite center. He's the first-line center on most teams. Let's be honest here. If it's not for Austin Matthews, he's the first-line center on a lot of teams. Arguably, he'd be a first-line center on the Jets even though Scheifele's I know that's maybe not something I should be bringing up. The point is he's still an excellent hockey player, and, this is just a nice goal. I thought on this goal, guys, I just thought, the Jets, their coverage was a little bit, like, loose, I guess, because Tavares comes in and there's, DeMello's kind of backing up. So I think, there's just a little bit too much time and space for a sniper like Tavares. But obviously, the goal was pretty insignificant. The Jets ended up icing it with the empty netter. But certainly John Tavares on a Saturday afternoon, he brought his A game, and so did Mitch Marner. And look, I mean, the Jets, they weathered the storm. There was a pushback in the third period from the Leafs, but it was a pushback where, for the most part, they didn't have a lot of high danger chances. I think they had 3 or 4 high danger chances in the entire third period at even strength. So you got to love that. 2 high danger chances at even strength for the Leafs. So 2, that's pretty good.
I was going to
8-2 for the Jets.
8. Wow. Yeah, that's no. That's great. Yeah, Ezzy, I mean, I agree with you that I think the biggest thing about this goal is the response and the Jets' ability to shut it down from that point forward. We talked about it off the top of the show that after this last goal from Toronto, they didn't really have anything. And I think that's the biggest part of this. You do see this sometimes from the top line, and this is where the criticisms come from. Like you said, Drew, caught a little bit too low, and the Leafs are able to counter and get a goal. And that's where maybe the bad version of the Connor Scheifele-Velarde line comes into play. But the response from this point forward was fantastic from the Jets, and Hellebuyck wasn't tested much at all. So this was maybe a wake-up call for the Jets. Maybe they thought they could cruise at 4-1, but from this point forward, they were good to go.
They were good to go. I haven't done it yet. Usually we'll reserve it for a hat trick goal. Not typically that we do it for an empty net hat trick goal, but here is our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
It's Mark Scheifele, his 21st, 21 goals for Kyle Connor, 21 goals for Mark Scheifele. You sort of knew that one of them was going to get that hat trick tonight. They both had opportunities to win with the net empty. It's
the Leafs. Sorry, Drew. I was going to say the Leafs net was empty for like a good solid 4 minutes.
Yeah, it seemed like about 3 minutes, something like that. Not after there was an icing. The Jets took an icing call, and with about probably 2:45 left, something like that. And that's when they pulled Joseph Woll. And the puck was just on the outside. The Jets did a great job keeping it on the outside. Eventually, they got it out, and Mark Scheifele hits the empty net, so he gets a 3-goal third period, a natural hat trick for Mark Scheifele, at least from the Jets' perspective, for Jets goals in that third period. That feels good for him. That he absolutely is going to have a big smile on his face as he and the rest of his teammates adjourn for the holiday season. The Winnipeg Jets 5-2 victors over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm sure there's going to be more than one member of the Winnipeg Jets fandom that is going to be having a drink or two this evening. Do it responsibly and make it Seagram's. Maybe Seagram's 83, Manitoba's #1 whiskey. Big thanks.
And also, and yes, big thanks to Seagram's, longtime sponsor of the show. And also, we've got, I think, 350 people watching live on YouTube. Smash that like button.
Yes, folks.
It's the holiday season. It's 2 days before Christmas. Like, let's smash some likes around. And while you're doing that, subscribe to the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel as well.
Yes,
and
share the love.
Like every single one of those Winnipeg Sunday Sports Talk Sunday lives and those deep dives, because you guys are killing it. When Liz was on, I haven't watched all of them. I haven't watched the most recent. Was it on Was it
Most
Salamonson was the
recent
most
one.
recent one?
Yes, it was. And we spoke to Mark Morrison, head coach of the Manitoba Moose. We got some quotes from him on that one. So that was a fun one to put together. But yes, thank you for plugging that. We had a great show Sunday coming out of that Minnesota game and previewing this game. It was Jets fans were happy to wake up early at 9 a.m. on a Sunday.
So remember, you got to like all the work that Connor does, and you like all the work that Liz does, and you like all the work that Jacob does, and you like all the work that Hustler does. I'm missing somebody, but I can't figure out who I'm missing.
No, that's everybody. That's
Oh,
everybody.
that's everybody. That's what I thought.
We're joking, Remo. We're joking. But I told Connor this, and maybe this will catch on in the chat. But I've been calling Connor, Liz, and Jacob for a while now, probably going on a year now. They're the young guns of Winnipeg sports media.
Yes.
Just call them the young guns.
There was a time where we were the young guns of Winnipeg sports media, Ezra. Now we're not anymore, but it's nice to see the next generation comes forward.
We were always old, I think.
Yeah.
But we're younger. We were in our 30s, I guess.
We were in our late 20s, but when we started this, we were in our late 20s.
Yeah.
I've always been old, maybe not chronologically, but at least physically, I've been old. In any event,
that's true. I guess we were. Yeah, we were in our mid 20s when we started this. Wow.
Yeah, it's nice to see the next generation stepping up and bringing great content to the good folks of Winnipeg. We'll go to break. When we come back, we'll give our happy Hanukkahs and our Merry Christmases, and we'll give our love to all of you who've been with us each and every post-game show, each and every Saturday morning, each and every Sunday morning, and of course on each and every edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk.
It's getting dark in Kentucky, Drew.
It is.
It keeps getting darker and darker.
Exactly. I got to go inside soon. You don't want to know what happens in the back here when it gets dark. So
in the last 10 or 15 minutes, I've just been I keep peeking at you, and it just slowly is getting darker. I guess you're in the Eastern time zone too, so
it's 20 to 6 here, so it's getting dark behind me. So we'll come back, we'll wrap it all up. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Connor Habchuk, Ezra Ginsburg. The Winnipeg Jets win 5-2 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
4:45 Central Time, 4:06 here in the Eastern Time Zone. I got to play this one. It comes from the Jets. They do the jacket giveaway or whatever it is after each and every game. Mark Scheifele, the recipient of the jacket tonight. And remember what happened last time after the Jets won in Toronto. Here's what Mark Scheifele had to say after tonight's game. I hope this is going to work. Here it goes.
Hey boys, great win. Enjoy your Christmas. And hey, rating better than winning. Great for Christmas.
Mark Scheifele there addressing his teammates in the Winnipeg Jets dressing room. Didn't make any headlines, didn't cause any trouble there, Connor, but you know that you could sort of feel the smirk in his voice a little bit, given the previous time the Jets won there.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, he was thinking of what he was going to say for sure if he won tonight without making headlines, and he did just that. But it's awesome that he got the jacket. I know the clip that goes around of him saying that original one is a helmet. So you've seen the evolution of what gets given out to the player of the game after the game. And it's still Mark Scheifele all these years later having a great game against the Leafs.
Yeah, and I'm sure it feels good to do that. Anytime the Jets players play close to their hometowns, that you certainly want to put on a display for your hometown audience. Jets win 5-2 tonight in Toronto. They wrap up the pre-Christmas and Hanukkah portion of the schedule as the top team in the NHL, which is certainly a lofty spot for them to be in the standings. We know that it won't matter till April. That's when the big litmus test is, of course, going to be. But just strictly from a here and now perspective, for fans of this team, it's been a hell of a last 3 months since the season started. It's been nothing but fun for fans of the Winnipeg Jets. So, in this day and age, live in the moment, enjoy the moment, and enjoy what your hometown Winnipeg Jets have been doing on the ice, because it doesn't always happen that way. Ask the good folks in Buffalo. There's the alternative, one of the alternatives, certainly.
Well, absolutely. And not only do the Jets have the best record in the NHL, but just looking at the last 2 games, they beat 2 of the best teams in the league based on where they are in the standings now, right? So
10-2.
This is how you want to go into the holiday break, right? And yes, were there some periods of play where the Jets have been struggling? Certainly that 6-game road trip where they went 2-4 stands out, right? And obviously the games in California, we talked about that. We don't have to rehash that. Those were 2 performances that left a lot to be desired, right? But they've stepped up in these last 2 games, guys. As Connor has stepped up in the absence of Dave Manouk, who's in parts unknown right now. We don't know where he is. I mean,
he's just flying around the world. That's all he's doing.
Connor,
he's on the private jet. He's just flying around.
Right? So he can go anywhere. He could be flying over the Pacific. Like he could be, who knows? He could have gone to Europe. We have no idea.
You have no idea. When you have a private jet at your disposal, I mean, he doesn't care about carbon offsets or anything like that. He's just burning the greenhouse gases. He doesn't care. He's even using aerosol cans. That's how much Dave doesn't care about the environment. He's using aerosol cans left, right, and center. Connor, thank you. You've been doing some great work with us since Saturday morning. We appreciate it. I wish you all the best, you and your family and everybody in your circle, the best for the holiday season. Ezra, the same, of course, to you. You know that I love you dearly, even though I might tease you a little bit here on the program. It's nothing but love.
I love you, man. Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers hug.
We love all of you for joining us tonight and joining us on Saturday mornings and checking out the website and joining us after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. From our Illegal Curve family to you and your family, be safe for the next few days. Be well, be happy, be joyous. Whatever it does for you, please enjoy it. Take some time. We'll be back on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve hockey show, then Saturday night for the Illegal Curve post-game show. Hug your loved ones. Be close with your friends and family. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Love to all. For Connor Harabchuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Saturday morning. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, Follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.